Alrighty. Hello, everybody, and welcome. ZeroMagnumX here. Um, Welcome to the live stream I had mentioned yesterday during the card fight discussion video. And I'll just wait for any of my subscribers to pop on and go ahead and start asking questions. I know I didn't really schedule this or anything, mostly because I am pretty busy. So I guess I'll start talking because this is part a discussion video and part a Q&A if you have interest. So what topics can we talk about in the card game itself for those who are watching this video later on? Well, I think I will discuss a little bit about the card fight meta right now, the tiers, and address some of the people's complaints that I noticed throughout the community. So we'll start with that. I think like everybody complaining about Gear Chronicle and multiple attacks and everything has kind of been a, how to place it, like a regular mainstay in the game. That is because decks like Aquaforce existed before. Decks like um, Royal Paladins like Altmile exist. So the multi-attack thing has been in Vanguard. In regards to the Grand Blue Rush, that's like a new animal for me. I mean, I think the closest thing we have were Spikes, but they actually weren't good. Like, they took a couple of wins, but nothing major. J-Word AMV asks, what do I think about the new Alfred? Okay, so all the Alfreds, unfortunately, up at this point, have been the same. I don't think it's going to make much headway in the game itself, unfortunately. I think Alfred's days are done. He was one of the decks I focused on whenever I first started, and I feel like they just didn't give him enough, and they never do. Like, if the new one was like G-Break 2, Counterblast 1, he got 2,000 power for each of your rear guards, and like couldn't be boosted and gained like an extra critical or something like that, I think he'd be a monster then. Because then you go back to having the Royal Paladin Vanguard centric deck. The way he's presented now is it's like the same old song and dance. Like generally, I think he calls something and then he gets power from his rear guards. That's what the original Alfred did, but original was like Counterblast 3. So I don't particularly care for the new Alfred, unfortunately. I think he's cool. I think like that niche is neat, but I think he's a casual card at this point in the game. Whenever you're suffering 7 attacks a turn, maybe 9, from opposing decks, like even Aquaforce has a restander, so like even Aquaforce can attack like what, Magnum plus another attack, plus Vanguard, plus potential Vanguard restand, plus even Lambros restand. Like, Aquaforce can attack you for at least like between 4 and like I think 6 or 7 attacks, especially if they get stand triggers. And that's like a tier 1.5 deck right now. It's not even like Grand Blue or Gears or anything. That's like, it's not even a deck that's topped recently, and the new Alfred can't even compete against something like Thavis. And that's the issue with the Royal Paladins right now, is that they're basically rush decks that try to get to grade 3 or sit on grade 2 until they find their grade 3 and are able to push the envelope whenever they find Sanctuary Guard and kill the opponent fast. Right now, the grade 1 and grade 2 game is very, very important in terms of the meta. And I don't think a card like Alfred, who is slow and doesn't offer a big, big, big payoff for using him, is going to make any headway. So yeah, go ahead and keep asking questions and what have you. I am here to answer at least for an hour or two. Like I said, I'm alone in the sense that like Kitmits and the little one aren't here, so I can sit here and talk. Um, and Pokemon, also by JWord AMV. I have like 8 or 9 decks made. But my favorite is Giratina Darkrai. It's such like a toolboxy, option-oriented deck right now that it really made me enjoy it. Like before, it was just a core ramped deck. You played your Max Elixirs, double Dragon Energies, and just kind of pumped out like Darkrai KOing things, or you had like Giratina to kind of get in there and push the game in your favor versus certain megas and everything. But now it's become like a major toolbox deck. Like it's using, it's kind of like done 2 Darkrai, like 2 Hydratagon, I think 2 Shaymin EX, um, just for draw power. And in that deck you need it. Um, 1 Salamence EX and Hydratagon and Giratina, like 2 Giratina. Yeah, so it's like a neat spread toolbox deck to really abuse the double dragon energy now, which is something we haven't really seen in a while. I think the closest thing we saw for something like that, ugh, maybe the Rayquaza decks, like the dragon-based Rayquaza deck. But then even then, it was just focused on Rayquaza. It wasn't like a nice toolbox. Water box, the old water box decks did it too, but they were they were trying to like be a stun deck, kind of like they were trying to eliminate what your opponent could do, and less of less toolboxy. I mean, it was called water box, but it was weird. The Seismitoad decks were weird. I watched them play, and they were less toolboxy than what a toolbox deck does. If no one knows what that term means, it means that like Vanguard, you don't see it a lot. Yeah, in fact, I don't think you see toolbox decks really at all. Oh, pardon me. A toolbox deck is a deck that gives you choice cards for the situation that comes up that you need to be prepared for. And this only works in certain games. Like it's rough to say it works in Magic. The toolbox deck is effectively control in Magic. Just like have a removal spell, have the right tool or answer for the right situation to push yourself forward, and then, but even like tempo decks get that. It's just different things. But like in games like Yu-Gi-Oh and games like Pokemon, toolbox decks are a very real thing. Like Ratbox was a deck where if you killed, I can't remember its name, but the like 1400 attack, when it dies, summon like Earth monster of like 1400 or something along those lines. It's been a long time. But it was called Rat Box, and like your thing would die, and then you would grab like the appropriate Earth type attribute monster from your deck and put it onto the battlefield. And it usually grabbed the dinosaur and stuff like that. Just like I think it stops special summons or effects. Again, long time since I played. And in Pokemon, it means having like the right Pokemon for the job. Bringing in the Pokemon to effectively dismantle what your opponent is doing. And it's especially really good in that format because you don't have a side deck. So you can't just like side something in and be like, this is going to handle this situation. Um, Vanguard tried doing like a toolbox kind of strategy with the Cray Elementals, giving you answers to certain things that would happen in the game, or just being weird and different, and you can use that, you can use this. And realistically speaking, um, it doesn't work. because clans need to be so dedicated to what they do as it stands now that you can't spread your resources too thin, or you end up in a very troubling position where your deck isn't functioning at its maximum capacity. And I know this because I've tried to make some toolbox decks in Vanguard and it didn't work. Tech cards are different. Tech cards are completely different. It's not a card that matches like a variety of situations. So it's not like you have, let's say, let's use Kagura since I know the clan so well. It's not like you have your 4 Draconic Overlord, the Legends, and then your other 4 grade 3s are like one different grade 3 of each. That doesn't work. So it's like you have your Legend, and then you just have like 4 random grade 3s to handle certain matchups, certain situations that you feel affect you or that you're worried about. And then like maybe 1 or 2 of your grade 2 or 1s are dedicated to that strategy as well. Then your deck's spread too thin. Then you're not consistent about what you want to do. Um, so that's why toolboxing doesn't work too much in Vanguard. What you will see is maybe like a random one of grade 3 and a random one of grade 2 to help against one bad matchup you have. And you have generally a way to find that grade 3 or grade 2, or it overall doesn't matter if you use it or not. If that matchup comes up, cool if you have it. If not, you just kind of have to push through. That's kind of Vanguard's jam, though. It's just kind of pushing through and making sure your deck does what it's supposed to do effectively. The G Zone has given us more options. So you'll see some toolboxing in the G Zones, but like right now that's not as prevalent, because the G Zone is either being thrown out completely and not used at all, such as in Seven Seas Rush, or it's Gears. And Gears, G Zone's very tight. The closest thing you might see for a toolbox deck are the new Shadow Paladin decks, because they have Aura Geyser, they have Spectral, they have Doomed if they want it, they have Luard, and then they have like Original Diablo to pressure the opponent, and then they have a Carnivore Dragon if you'd want it to like make them retire. So you can get kind of toolboxy with shadows, but it's not enough to push a deck into true like tier 1 status yet. I think Gears have to go away, and I think something has to be done about Grand Blue Rush. And then I think a cool toolboxy Shadow Paladin deck will rise in the ranks. It'll be really expensive, but it'll rise in the ranks. Because Luards are like $30, $35, and Orfessa's like $28, $30. This stupid grade 2 is like $30. If you're wondering, I paid $20 for mine. Because that's what it was at the time, and then it shot up. All the Shadow Paladin stuff shot up. So hopefully you got it before, if you wanted it, before the buyouts. I know I kind of rambled, but given that there's only 2 people watching, I thought there'd actually be more, given we had like 5 or 6 people yesterday. I'm just gonna kind of talk, kind of ramble, kind of see what you guys have to ask. Just getting, which clan do I not like in Vanguard? Well, I don't like particularly dislike any clan, because they all have their niche, and Vanguard's done an excellent job of saying you're this kind of player, you'll be attracted to these sorts of decks, and I appreciate that. However, if on a personal note, of clans that I wouldn't play or pick up or even look at, as far as like my interest would go, and they might warrant that's kind of cool, but I don't know if I'd use it. Morikumo from the Dragon Empire. I think I'd use everything else in it besides Morikumo. I've tried the deck. I just don't like the cloning aspect. It feels gimmicky. It feels like they're trying too much, for the same things you find in United Sanctuary. And I think Morikumo was the design was a mistake. Did you notice how like some clans they just completely reinvent? Like Gears didn't know what the heck it was doing at first, and then it found Time Leap, and Bushi's like, yes, this is what we're going to do. Because like APOC Maker Dragon, and they're like, yes, this concept's cool. Let's focus on it, and then they turned APOC Maker's effect into Time Leap. So they figured out what they were doing, and they just went straight forward with it. They needed to do that with Morikumo a long time ago. They should have said, let's scrap this. Like, this is United Sanctuary's thing trying to bleed over into Dragon Empire's thing. Dragon Empire is about retiring units. You know what I mean? What they could have done is made it the call clan. Like, get free calls, but retire units to call stuff from the deck. And that doesn't feel very ninja-esque, but um, Dragon Empire, for those who don't know, is all about resources, resource management, and removing your opponent's resources, typically speaking, while building your own or giving up your resources for power, such as what Chachikaze does. So it hedges on retiring, hand control, and in a sense, Morikumo calling units. Calling units is the weakest thing that Dragon Empire can do as far as like spam calling. What they should have done is they should have had it to where give Morikumo something special about Morikumo. Um, Something that sets it apart that makes you want to play it. Like when this unit, yeah, if you want to keep the cloning thing, okay, clone 2 units. Okay, if like 2 or more units are called with this effect, retire like an opponent's regard, which fits into Dragon Empire and promotes your board. So it turns into this cool like tempo mid-range deck where you're calling things. It's difficult to call them, but then you can remove opponents' resources. And I forgot Narukami, but effectively they're the same thing as Kagero. They just have put their retiring abilities into attacks. Sorry about that. And like they're the first ones really abusing the bind zone or trying to. So I don't like Morikumo because they haven't done anything with it. They kind of let it sit. And they're like, check out this cool technical booster, and we're just calling units more again. Whereas like Nubatama got like this significant boost, right? Like Nubatama just outright controls the opponent's hand and makes it hard to guard. So you're hitting their resources, you're hitting their hand, and that's wonderful. Okay, so as far as like aesthetics, though, I don't like Mega Colony. I like how it plays. I don't like the aesthetics of Mega Colony. They're a bunch of bugs. Like bugs. Bugs are scary, and then you're just like, hey, we're Dragon Empire Fire. You know, I never had a problem with Mega Colony every time I played against it. So I don't know. So I think like I think it's good. I just think like I don't care for how it looks. And another clan I dislike. Like I said, Murakumo, just because they don't have they just handled it wrong. Uh, really, there's not another clan I dislike. I think it's just Murakumo, and it's not because like the deck is bad per se. It's just that they didn't do anything with it. They have untapped potential sitting right there to where like calling all of your units gives you a huge benefit, and they didn't do it. Oh yeah, you called units, cool. I'm Royal Paladins. I'm gonna call like 2 or 3 units in a turn. Oh, I'm going to time leap the garbage out of you because Gear Chronicle. We're calling units as well, and in fact, we're doing kind of your cloning thing by calling copies of cards. So that's just what I feel. I feel like Morikumo. It's just disliked not because it's bad, but because it's untapped potential. They could do something big with it, and they're choosing not to. Um, You don't like Make Holly Link Joker because you don't like battling stun. That's fair. Playing against controlling stunny decks is annoying. I played against Link Joker whenever I was on Revengers, and it came down to drive checks, and I had some good ones until I double drive check grade 3s and lost. Because I didn't have enough shield to keep going. So that sucked. And it wasn't like the Link Joker deck was doing that well either. I mean, I was in the lead and everything. It's just they got to a point where they were getting some good triggers and everything else. And at the final point of the game, I drove check 2 grade 3s out of my 3-card drive check and just sat there and was like, yep, I'm going to die because I don't have enough guard. And you have 3 attacks. So, like, and that's not really Link Joker's thing. Link Joker wants to suppress your attacks so that you have to have a Vanguard-centric deck or just empty fields. So, it was weird. But yes, please ask questions. I'm here for, like I said, the next hour or two, and go ahead and ask anything. Oh, okay. The awesome car guy, GBT. That's Divine Dragon Caper, right? That's the new one, GB9. I'm working on Narukami. It seems super fun. I'm going off a Japan list. I don't know how well that'll do. I finally finished Kagero, which was cool. I haven't had Kagero in a long time. Complete it, so it's nice. I'm probably going to build 7 Seas Rush because it's like dirt cheap. I just need to get a few more commons for it. I'm probably just going to like ask people at the local game store I go to, hey, do you have this one? Can you bring it with you, please? Thank you. And I'm working out a trade. Oops, sorry again. I don't know if I'm catching this cold for my daughter or what, but I'm hopeful to be picking up a Thavis deck. I'm in the midst of a trade right now on Vanguardians. Because I'm hopeful. Like, I have a bunch of Shadow Paladin stuff that shot up, and he's gonna get back to me at some point. In fact, I have Facebook like on the bottom of my screen watching it to see if I get any messages. Because I really want to make that trade. Because I like the new Thavis a lot. I didn't really read it weirdly until last night. Like, I mean, it processed that like Jamie did something. And I was like, okay, it's Jamie and Aquaforce, neat, you know, boo boo boo. Now they're talking to Tokuha Cole. And then I read it last night. I was like, whoa, what? Like, this card's insane. So that was cool. Like, I just don't pay attention to Aquaforce because I was off the deck after a while. But it's actually really good. Like, this is the first time. I liked Maelstrom a lot for Aquaforce, but I could never really get it together at the time it was relevant. And that was for like a 2-month period that it was relevant. And then whenever I finally did get it because everything dropped, it wasn't relevant again, right? Because like we had Legion. So I was like, oh, well, it would have been my Limit Break deck had I actually paid attention at the time to Aquaforce. For some reason, I just don't pay attention to Clan. I don't know what it is. Like, I tried to build it multiple times, and then eventually I just stopped paying attention to it. So I thought that was cool. Like, I was like, oh, well, it just, like, retires your opponent's board. Okay. That's enough to pull me into wanting to play it. Like, and then, like, I do Lambros was always good. So hopefully that trade goes through, and then I can get a Thavis deck. I'm excited if it's, like, completely fine. Like Aquaforce seems like the clan I should be playing right now alongside Kagero. Because it has a restander, it has a board sweep, and it has something to hedge good attacks and pressure the opponent for the late game in Lake Lambros. So you can just be like, oh, restand, get you, after you've exhausted the resources. So that seems like the kind of deck I should be playing. It's just like my Kagero deck, like generic Stride Retire thing. Okay, turn 2, play Titan and like go blazing, do more pressure, make you use more resources, and then go, oh, okay, we finally got you to like 5 damage. Here's Ace, get you, or here's Novel, Vogue, get you, or whatever it is, and then like beat them. And that's just been my playstyle, and like Aqua Force is doing exactly the same thing. So that should just like be the deck I'm looking at right now. Oh, cool. My verse clan. This is funny. Kimmits and I started off with the Royal Paladin and the Kagero deck. And I decided to go with Blaster Blade because I read him and was like, holy crap, you can retire something. I was like, boom, like, that is the kind of card I should be playing. Like, play this and kill your thing. Yeah! And come to realize that was Kagero shtick the entire time. So it was Royal Paladin. Ironically, I kind of started out like Kai that way, as stupid as that sounds. And then after that, I kind of moved to Shadow Paladins, um, because I thought Phantom Blaster Dragon was cool because like perfect guard or die, and I liked that concept at the time. And I ran spikes. My spike rush deck was kind of stupid for whenever it was around. I actually didn't lose that much with spikes. It had a short time whenever I'd play any game that it had an undefeated streak. And it wasn't like it was anything special. It was just typical Spike Brothers. It's just the rush. I was playing like that grade 2 rush game back when the game came out. I just don't think anybody else picked up on it. Like at that time. So like I said, my first clan was actually Royal Paladin. And then I stemmed into Shadows and... Oh no, I'm sorry, I did invest in Gold Paladin. I forgot that set 6 did come up and come out. So yeah, I did invest in Ezel. I actually still have the Ezel deck. I'm not sure if I ever completely got rid of it. And I've been like slowly upgrading it just because it was like one of my first decks that I actually spent time on. Because I thought the Superior Ride was cool. And then I wanted Narukami at the time. But it's funny because like I think I had like the same story or the opposite story or something like that of one of the local game players. He wanted Narukami. And yeah, that's what it was like the opposite. He wanted Narukami whenever he first started, and I wanted Golds when I first started. I got Vermilions, he got Ezels out of his boxes, which was funny. So like, I think I still wanted like Narukami though, because I thought it was cool. But like, I really wanted Golds for some reason at the time, because it was like the new thing. I I think at the time you could Superior Ride. I was like the coolest thing in the world because I was like, holy flip, you your opponent's at 2 and then or at 1 and you just go to 3. Like, what is this? Like, if you go first and then you just have twin drive and then they're going to 2. Oop. Sorry about that. It seemed like the stream cut out. That was weird. But yeah, I was just like mind blown that you could like go to grade 3 when your opponent was at grade 1. I was like, that's so powerful. Like, you just get your twin drives, you'll just crit them into oblivion, and you'll just be way ahead. So that's why I picked up golds at that time because I thought that was my focus was just Criff or whatever. Criff. He's still my starter, in fact. Um, for the superior rod, like I still use that to this day because just jumping to grade 3 still seems like a powerful thing to do. In fact, I have a zillion deck in the works. Um, in fact, whenever we actually get everything cleaned off, because right now that's my card table. It has a bunch of Christmas stuff, and it because like the basement room flooded. I don't know if you guys saw that video or anything. So I have to clean up the card fight table and everything. Well, the plan is to try and do that tomorrow, actually, because Kitmits will be back, and then the hope is I can find all my Eradicator stuff and put together like a good Zillion deck, because that's one of the videos I'd like to feature if I can. Ouch. But yeah, I mean, Ezel was cool, so that's kind of what happened. It was interesting because I wanted to build that deck, and then like I still have it. Like I said, I never really completely parted with it. I think I parted with like pieces of it, like Platinum Ezel and stuff because it was all popular. But I never cared for the. It was cool when I saw it on the anime, but I never cared for the like the cross ride for Ezel because he was cool, but he didn't. I didn't feel like he did enough. Oh, it is. Why do I hate area? That's a great question. First off, I'm not big on online clients for TCGs. For example, there are people that go hardcore in Hearthstone, right? They're like grinding, they're playing, they are there. That is their thing. They will spend hours on it. I only do this maybe once every few weeks, maybe once or twice during the seasons, unless there's something I really, really enjoy that comes out. Um, so it's hard to pull me into an online client. Like I have Pokemon TCGO, and I have like I said, like 8 decks on there. But they're all I haven't played because like my goal on that game was to acquire the meta decks in practice. Um, so they're sitting there right now, and I haven't been on it. Um, besides once when I downloaded it and I played a little bit, but I haven't really been playing it. It's hard for me to get to an online client. Um, they have to be well put together. Like I downloaded Magic Online and tried that. I even got into it with a budget standard deck at the time, and played, and I hated it. I tried playing in sealed stuff and whatever. It just didn't seem worth it to me. Pokemon's great though because you can buy real product and put it in. And area is full of bugs. Area is too hard to for me to focus on, and I don't like area. I respect the people who can play it, but it's watered down. It isn't exciting, and they could easily turn it into like a Dolus network kind of interface where it's on a website. You don't go to download anything. You just type in your username, have a deck creation client, go and add people as friends on there so you can play them infinite times, go and play on a ladder, and they didn't approach it that way. The way they approach area is idiotic. It's a run around and try and find someone. And they had, I think they had a Yu-Gi-Oh client maybe like that. And I didn't care for how that was ran either. And the guy was like, I love this thing, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's cool because you can see the cards, like, physically on the field, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, just play me on Dueling Network whenever that was around. So that's why I don't like area. Uh, per se. I mean, like I said, I was planning on. I mean, I'm super disappointed about Cardfight Online. I legit was going to have um, like streams focused on me playing games, and then streams focused on saying, "Hey, come play me." You know, that kind of stuff, and it never panned out, and it was super disappointing. So yeah, that's why I won't play Area. It's garbage, and I'm sorry to say it that way, but Area is complete garbage. They could have done 20 million things to make it better, and I just don't play online client supported games unless they pull me in. Pokemon TCGO pulled me in. Cardfight Online pulled me in. Hearthstone kind of pulls me in. Um, I think Vanguard would have gotten extremely popular. Because, like, the people who don't have a locals, and I hear that all the time, man, I'm quitting the game because I don't have a locals. They could sell out of the physical game and sit and play online. And then they could go and, like, watch streamers online that are like, hey, can I play you? And maybe that would encourage them to build their own channel up. Like, it was such a good idea. That was Vanguard doing something right. I can't stress that enough. That was the smartest move they could have made, and they squashed it. I mean, I know so many people who, I mean, Bushi would still be getting money, but I know so many people who said, hey, I'm going to sell a physical game and play Cardfight Online only. Bushiro, that is them literally giving you money. Like, they're not going to TCG Player, they're not going to eBay to order their playsets, they're going to you now. I don't know about the 3DS games. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Video games are cool, but they kind of died. After a while, they stopped making them because they stopped selling. And that's just actually honesty. Um, because, like, the problem with the online, or the 3DS games, Game Boy, 3DS, DS, whatever, is that eventually you play the same matchup 50 times. And this is something that my friend and I had gone through. We both had Worldwide Edition. Yeah. And, like, we eventually just got to a point where, especially him, he just had every card in the game. And there was a thing where you could, like, shut off the ban list and just have, like, 3 copies of a card. So at that point, you were just getting to a point where you grind it and could own everything in the game. And you set the game down because what's the point of playing anymore whenever you trash your opponent 20 times in a row? Like, it gets boring. I hate to say it, but the reason Vanguard is popular, the reason card games work, is because it's the fact that you can... The fact that you lose in them is what makes you want to play them more. As crazy as that sounds. Because you do everything you can to try not to lose. And you try to get around the random variables. You try to figure out how to metagame. You try to figure out all this cool stuff. And that draws you right in and says, come play me, I'm a good card game. So that's why TCGs in general pull people in. Which is cool. But whenever you have a game like a 3DS game or whatever, and your computer is your opponent is a computer program, you know exactly what you're up against. You know how to beat them. You know their moves. You know their big plays. It's not like the CPU, and that is a growing entity. It's not like it goes, wait a second, in the game I'm going to buy 5 new strides for my deck. So I can surprise you and go, ha. And if they do it once. They don't constantly update their decks in those games. Same stuff. Same moves, same plays. And like as soon as you know that, and as soon as you collect, because you are a player, you collect enough resources in the game, you you get to a point where you can just take up a good deck to match up against their deck. And you can hedge it to where you never lose because you're metagaming the CPUs. Not that they should really be beating you anyway if you're a really good player in those, but when you start out I could see it. But then like you get to a certain point whenever you take on the weaker players or CPUs, beat them a lot, get a bunch of credit, use that credit to buy a bunch of packs, get a bunch of cards, improve your deck, go on to beat the better players and scale yourself up. But again, eventually the use of the game flat, like it plateaus, because eventually you own everything and you can beat every tier computer opponent in the game. That's why I don't think the 3DS games would have made Vanguard grow more. In fact, this is something I wanted to talk about. I think what's making Vanguard so popular in the United States is Vanguardians. And I'm actually dead serious. We came together as a community. We came together to pull the game and said, we like this game. We want to play this game. Bushiroad, we're supporting you. This is our community as a push coming together saying, we all like something about this. And the community is actually what made the game grow. John, who's no longer part of the group, which is sad, but he pushed for Vanguardian tournaments. He pushed for Monday Night Wars. He pushed for all this awesome content and everything, and that was really cool. So I think that's what pushed the entire Vanguard. I would say fad because it's not a fad. Vanguard movement in the U.S. I mean, Vanguardian just grew like wildfire because there's so many people that like it, but they needed a place to go. And I think that's what made it grow in the United States. I don't think a video game would do it. I mean, maybe some kid would see it on the shelf and want to play it. The fact that it doesn't, the anime itself isn't broadcasted in the United States, like on Cartoon Network or something, hurts it a lot. In fact, I'm surprised it didn't die out like Kaijudo did. But I just think it was the unrelenting support, and I think it's because it also came from the Japanese, uh, like Koro magazine community, if you want to call that. The reason that I call that it's a little bit different, is because Koro is a magazine where all like, and somebody from Wizards of the Coast, I think, and he's a head of Duel Masters, something along those lines. He said that every like 12 to like 16, 17-year-old boy picks up this magazine and reads it. So they know all the hottest games that come out. They're aware of all the TCGs and everything. And that's why Duel Masters over there is a giant hit. Because they consistently have this influx of like 12 to 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds that are playing the game. Like it's just a continuous wave that keeps going. And that is the same community that plays Pokemon, that plays Wishwars, that plays Vanguard, that plays maybe Buddy Fight if that's over there, that plays what's the other one? Luck and Logic. So they just have that constant influx, and that's why I think, and that's why I think J Word it's existed. Oh, hello FIFA. I will check out your channel after the live stream. Hello there, and no, I don't watch Naruto. Uh, sorry. It is. I tried. I don't like it. Um, it's not that it was bad. It just bored me. Like, I don't know. Lots of anime bore me if they don't have a great storyline, and Naruto didn't. Um, I understand it's one of those genre that's more about the journey and the adventure than it is about the plot and getting to the point. But it was very dry to me. Like for example, One Piece does the same thing, and I love One Piece. It was One Piece was fantastic, but I think it's because they're pirates and they're funny and they're entertaining and interesting, and the characters have different dynamics and they're growing. And Naruto grows a little bit, but it's not at the same level that I care for. Like I'm, and One Piece is way beyond ever catching up for me, sadly. Um, but from what I've seen of it, I love it. And I try to keep up a little bit, but with 700 and some episodes, it's too hard, too difficult to keep going. So yeah. Anyway, long rant short. I don't watch Naruto. I tried. I haven't watched that, but I heard good things about it. Um, Unfortunately, as a father and somebody who has a job and all that, it's hard to find time for anime. Um, but I have heard really good things about X Hunter X, and I want to eventually watch it. I just haven't had time, unfortunately. Uh, I want to watch that. I want to watch D Gray Man. Like they put out the new D Gray Man, and I just haven't had time to watch it. And whenever it was there, man, I was like, Kim and I were watching every single episode. We were into it. I mean, there's a point whenever she kind of stopped watching it because she got busy with stuff. But like we were watching the episodes as they came out and everything, and we were both kind of upset that it just stopped when we found it. And then they put the new one up, and I just haven't had time to watch it, and it's upsetting. But yeah, I mean like D Gray Man, X Hunter X, like whatever, however you say it. Sorry, I've heard different ways to say it. All those I plan to watch, but I just haven't had time. I mean, the last time I had real time to watch anime was around the birth of my daughter. The first couple of weeks I was over at Kim's in-law or folks, so my in-laws, and I watched a bunch of Netflix anime. So I watched like Seven Deadly Sins. I watched Fate Stay Night, Unlimited Blade Works, because I'm actually a big fan of the Fate series. In fact, after the live stream and such, I'm probably gonna go watch the new Fate. What is it, like OVA or movie or whatever? Because I want to see that, and it's an hour and something, so I can watch that without any issues. Series are harder to keep up than like one shots like that. So yeah. But yeah, if you have questions, you want to know anything, go ahead and ask. Like I said, just keep it nice, keep it appropriate. Be cool, talk to me. I'm here. I'm listening. Uh, I don't play sports games. If that helps. And nothing wrong with them. I just have tried them many times and didn't care for them. Um, it's just not me. Like I'm not a big sports guy. I mean, if there's a game on, people are watching it. Like the Steelers game on Christmas. my dad had on when we were over. And we watched that. Kind of weird thing to do on Christmas. Um, but that's like the extent of me being interested in sports. Oh, that's a great question, Jayward. Actually, if I could make a clan in Vanguard, what would it focus on? Okay, so I think I go one of two ways. I'd either go like that question's already answered for me on one aspect. It's Kagero. They are like the perfect balance for what I'd like to do. And even like with Narukami. However, if I had a clan to make in Vanguard, what unique aspect would it have? It would remove its own stuff from play. In order to gain a giant benefit. When I say giant, I mean like plus 10k in a crit on like a rear guard. Stuff like that, because you would have think like what Dark Irregulars do. Um, you know what I mean? But instead of going to the soul and filling a resource, it would be an actual like bad benefit. Like this, whenever you play this card, bind the top 4 cards of your deck, and give a rear guard a counterblast 1. Bind the top 4 cards of your deck, and if like you have 5 bound cards, choose a rear guard and give it 10k and a crit until end of turn. It'd be something like that, where it's actually hurting you and your resources for a major benefit. Something like that. So you could get like extreme value out of it, but you could also deck out real fast. Because like you would have to bind like between 2 and 5 cards as costs. Let me just like bind a card. So you could like deck out quickly, but your rear guards would get huge benefits, and huge attack buffs and stuff like that. Like that's where I would start. So it's just like a great pressure deck at a real cost. And that way it would teach our resource man. The reason that is because like so many people who play Vanguard, or i.e. so many Vanguards, have no idea how to do resource management. Alright, take care, FIFA. So that would be what the kind of clan I would make. Something to teach resource management so that to win with it, it took skill, but it was very powerful. And I mean, it'd probably be like in the dark zone, because that's kind of like their shtick. So I was just like staring off to space at a moment, at that moment. But yeah, yeah, keep asking questions and such. That's what I'm here for. But yeah, I think like a clan that would really teach resource management skills very well would be a smart idea. Maybe even like some of the cards are like bind some cards in your hand down, kind of like Brave, but not. You know, I mean, they kind of did the resource management game of Brave, but it hasn't done anything. Like, I mean, it had a couple of decks. But when I looked at the deck and saw All Mile Brave, you know what the other 2 clans were? Grand Blue and Gear Chronicle. So I don't even know if like the Alt Mile deck is what did well, or if it's just the fact that I was surrounded by like the 2 best clans in the game right now. Or decks, rather. So yeah, like I said, a deck that would cost you resources but give you big benefits. It's actually what pulled me into Phantom Blaster Dragon way back. because you had to give up so many resources, but it was like perfect guard or they die, and that caused you to pay more attention to the game. It forced you to pay attention to what they were drawing into, having to play around the one card they had for turn if it was a perfect guard or what have you. Um, the problem is, I think these cards right here, I think these guys, they ruined an aspect of resource management. Because it's so easy now to just have 8 cards that shut your opponents down for being rewarded for playing resource management well. Or a clan like I suggested that would teach really well that's not viable with G Guardians, and paying attention to like drive checks, paying attention to what your cards are drawing. It makes it more difficult whenever they can just draw a heal in their hand for turn, which normally was just like a 10k shield. Now it's a toolbox card. It can be a denial griff. It can be like bounce something from their back row to the bottom and get like 5k, I think, or whatever. So G Guardians kind of hurt their resource management game a little bit. Which is why I don't like them, but they're part of the game and I'll use them as long as they exist. I actually didn't care for G Guard. I thought it was cool. Like many anime moments, I'm like, whoa, that's neat. And then I was just like, yeah. Although it's funny, is like I kind of saw it coming when on the episode that like they need like a perfect guard to stop this attack. So they're probably gonna, but they can't perfect guard. So the guy has a heal trigger. They're probably gonna have some stupid skill or new ability that lets them summon a big G Guardian, or effectively, what was the G Guardian? Some big Guardian. And then it was like, ditch a heal, play this. I'm like, yep, called it. And it's because they set it up too easily to be like, that's going to happen. I thought there was going to be like a Guardian from the G Zone. There's going to be like Counterblast 2 or something, and then like call a Guardian out from your G Zone. And it'd be like another perfect guard or something. That's what I thought they were going to do. And he was like, nope, discard this heal trigger and play this. So I was like, alright, that's more balanced than what I thought. But I thought they were just going to like throw Sentinels in the G Zone and say, you can have these plus your main deck Sentinels. And it have to be like you both strode or something, or both had Generation Break unlocked or whatever. But it was pretty close to what I thought it was. I'm glad that they restricted it to heal triggers. So I will say that. Because my aspect would have been busted. Counterblast 2 and like just as long as you're both on Generation Break 1, call this unit perfect guard for my G Zone. Because G Break 3 is not even that hard to get right now, and I thought, oh, well, maybe it's like G Break 2 do that. I think that was my original thought. I'm like, I bet she's going to Counterblast 2 and like call a Guardian out from the G Zone, and it'll be like, you know, because he's at G Break 2 or something, and it'll perfect guard for him. And I just be like, gotcha. But it's more balanced the way they did it. I still don't like the concept of it, because resource management got screwed up when they entered the game. Because now if no one's noticed, there's this power struggle. Anytime they print a better way to guard, there has to be a better way to attack. And anytime there's a better way to attack, there has to be a better way to guard. And this like pushes what's good in the meta and what's not. So because G Guardians exist, Gear Chronicles have to be able to attack like 9 times. Right? And or prevent your opponent from using the G Guardians in the first place, like rush decks, playing the grade 1 and 2 game. So the G Guardians created some of the most degenerate plays in Vanguard. And it's not that they aren't, and that's not what their intention was. But in order to overcome that like defense boost, you have to go through a lot. I think each of the G Guardians should have been, I hate to say it, but 10k shields on their own. And people are like, you're giving up a heal for a 10k shield. Why are you doing this? Or be dedicated to stopping Vanguard attacks and how like millions of defense, just like whatever, kind of like it'd be a pseudo perfect guard, just so it would guard the Vanguard. Um, the way they're handling G Guardians is bad. I understand it's like, yo, it's 4 heals. Well, let's use an example. Let's say Oracle Think Tank gets really good. Oh, they have a Magus heal trigger that keeps reshuffling into the deck, and I understand you can only use like 4 G Guardians in a game, maybe technically 5 if you throw down 2 heal triggers at once. But that's like a deck that can thin itself out, shuffle its resources around, and eventually just be able to G Guard on the dime. And the Oracle Think Tank got a really amazing G Guardian. They'd have recyclable triggers without needing a Legion, and they would have like so they could heal themselves, build up their hand, and keep going. So like G Guardian, thankfully they kind of kept like Oracle Think Tank's power level down, because when I saw G Guardians, that was one of the first things that came to mind. I was like, how do you ever beat Oracle Think Tank? They have recycling triggers, heal triggers in particular. They can stack their deck for the most part. They always build up their hand, and if you keep reshuffling those Maguses, they'll never deck out. So it's like, how do you get around all that? If they print like hey, Oracle 3 or something like that, this card gets plus 15k shield, and you have like 30k guard. And it's like you get to a point where you just cycle those and you grind out your opponent with Oracle Think Tank and you win. Because like Silent Tom just Silent Toms them into oblivion. But that doesn't work because they haven't given Oracle Think Tank a lot of power. And that's why I think Oracle sucks right now, by the way. Oracle Think Tank. Because they would be busted with G Guardians, I feel. That's also why like Gears have to do 1,000,000 attacks. So that see what happens whenever you ask a question about like what clan, a simple question like what clan would you make, and then I'm trying to be informative and answer questions all at once. Oh, cool. What? That's dumb. That's interesting. They would reveal this together. Um, what I would give support? Good question. Okay, the first one I would do is Cray Elementals. Um, I feel like Cray Elementals could be a deck if they made specific grade 3s, they made specific grade 2s and 1s, and um, like the grade 4s, the G units, to push the deck forward. I think that'd be cool. And it would be kind of like the colorless deck of Vanguard, because they haven't really tapped into that. Every game has a generic, a colorless type of deck that I know of, at least the ones I've played. or they eventually get to a point of having them. So I'd actually do Cray Elementals. They have a lot of cool aspects, and I think like Blizzard, for example, would be, I mean, like, insane in that deck because you just have some Cray Elementals that, when you strode, like, flip a G unit over. And they do some, like, nifty stuff. Like, just little tiny things that added up really cool over the course of a game and pushed the deck into being a playable, viable deck. I would, like I said before, Morikumo. I feel like they need to change their direction with it, and they could gain a lot of benefits from doing so. The clans I did say beforehand are getting support. I said before Neonectar needed it. Well, it's getting it out the ears now. Mega Colony got it already. Really, I hate to say it, but like, most of the clans are well supported right now. All the complaints people had before about your clan not getting support has been answered, besides like Morikumo. Morikumo even got support, it's just bad. So there isn't really a clan besides like Cray Elementals being newer that I give support to, because like everything's gotten support. And I mean, literally, like, Gurgut got support. Morikumo did. Tachikaze did. Like, all the under-supported clans got support. It might be bad support, but they all got support. So, like, all of them are getting enough support, I think. It's just, people look at Time Leap and they go, oh my gosh. And what they don't understand is, like, Time Leap came from Trial decks. It came from a few strides, like Warp Drive Dragon. So it got support, but the support's kind of like from Trial decks, from one or two cards. It's not like they got a billion things, or like TikTok Worker, which is a common card. So yeah, it just happens. It's just like I said, Stride's Trial deck and some commons are what pushed Time Leaping Gears over the edge. It's not like they have major support in the sense of like anything more than what some of the other clans do. It's just the fact that they have good support. And they have a focus now. And even that focus, like, is changing from Time Leap into, like, hey, so yeah, that's, I feel like everything's equally supported right now, to the point to where it can be. If you're asking for, like, the shift of support of decks that need it, I'd say Mega Colony needs to get a buff right now. I'd say Link Joker needs a buff. And I would say probably there's a third one that needs it that I think would be good. Maybe give Tachikaze a little bit more support, just to like hedge them as well, no, Spikes just got support. Never mind. They just got new cards. Forgot about that. That's what I'd hedge now, is like Mega Colony, probably Link Joker, because they need a little bit more on the Messiah game to do a little bit better, because everybody's focused on Chaos Breaker. Not that I can blame them, especially with the rush decks, but I feel like Link Joker could use a backup Messiah grade 3 that allowed it to have a G-Break 2 of, like, when you're attacked, like, lock a unit kind of thing. So, like, you get attacked, you took a damage, counterblast 1, after you take the damage, lock a unit. So, like, the damage you took, you could use to pay for. And then lock a unit, kind of like a Denial Griff built in. And it'd only be until the end of their turn, so it's not like it's locked on their turn if they need to use skills, but it would be a nice defensive card. I think Mega Colony needs something similar where it would like stun cards if it's being attacked. So the controlling clans can be up and pushed a little bit better than they were. Alright, well, an hour and 10 minutes has passed, so I think I'm going to conclude this stream. Thanks for joining, and I will try to do more live Q&As and all that later down the road. And I hope you enjoy it, and stay tuned for the next one and videos. Take care and have a good one.